my name's Lynsey, and I'm a statistical geneticist. So I spend my time, much like a suspicious housewife, rummaging through people's genes in search of answers. So I've only just moved down here, and I moved here about a month ago to start a postdoc at the Centre for Life. And it's difficult when people ask me what I do, because I say I do a postdoc, but that's only because there's not actually a succinct term for being in that weird grey area of having not handed in, therefore not postdoc, but still doing the job that you signed up for that said postdoc in the title. So I'm one of those. So as such, I'm mainly going to be talking about what I've done in the run-up to moving here. So I started off doing biology at university, just regular biology, the kind where you draw a snail's mouth under a microscope. It's called a radula, by the way. Or where you measure your thigh and a locust thigh, and you challenge it to a long jump competition in the name of physics. That's probably about as close as a scientist's going to get to the Commonwealth Games. And then went on to do a PhD in psychiatric genetics. So, being from Scotland, I thought Scotland would be an ideal place to study such disorders. So I spent 3 years looking into genetic variants in the Scottish population. So how do we conduct these studies? Well, you need lots and lots of DNA. And what do you do with people's DNA once you have it? Make babies is one answer. So that's not what I've been doing for the past 3 years, or at least I hope not, otherwise I've got a gestation period longer than an elephant. So that's fine, the loose clothing will keep hiding it for now. But it's kind of weird because it's almost like a very elaborate game of spot the difference, except with sort of between 500,000 and 13 million differences to spot. It's more akin to a sort of depressed Where's Wally, except there was a printing error at the factory and you never actually find Wally because he wasn't printed. But the problem is that because you've got all these differences, you can get something called a false positive, which I like to describe in terms of slugs. So you go out to your back garden and you're like, I wonder, is there a slug under this stone? Let's find out. Oh, it's a nip-out slug. Put the stone back down. Is there a slug under this stone? No. And obviously PhDs, you don't spend that much time with people, so I can easily do this for a whole afternoon. Eventually, stone number 656, holy fuck, there's a slug! Yes! You can find slugs under stones. This happens in genetics. You look long enough, you will quite probably find something. And that is called a false positive, because it's not actually a thing. You just looked at enough things that it looked like a thing, but it's not a thing. It's like, you have to get this sort of thick skin cynicism about it, that after the initial sort of thrill of finding something wears off, you've got to accept it's probably not a truie. It's kind of like having an estranged deadbeat parent who can't keep a promise. Except a false positive doesn't result in not getting to go to Thorpe Park. So that's one plus side. And to compound this misery, this is all conducted in a Linux environment. The laughter in the room tells me that some people have also worked in a Linux environment. For those of you who have you played Tomb Raider? Because if you have, I can tell you there are some eerie parallels between Tomb Raider and Linux. Number one, you think you're in control of Lara Croft, but often she is a defiant bitch who does exactly as she pleases. Number two, you are in the dinosaur level. You have just beaten the T-Rex. You come across a hexagonal key and think, I know where I'm going to put this. Go back 10 minutes. I'm going to put this in that hexagonal lock that I spied earlier. Except the shit graphics do not let you know that this was in fact an octagonal lock. Lara Croft does not like such 16-bit discrepancies, announces no, and does a backflip onto a spike and dies. Not a problem, you think. I passed a save crystal recently. And so you go back to the menu, you load the save crystal. But the save crystal was too close to the spike, and she leaps onto it again and again, dying. And therefore you have to play another 6 hours of gameplay to get to where you were. And that is what using Linux is like. So I decided to write a little rap about my computing experiences today. You can possibly tell from my super G exterior that this is something I might do in my spare time. to the tune of Eminem's Without Me, but it's called Please Don't Freeze. B12, could I have some bass, please? Yay. I've created a text file because nobody wants to use Word no more. They want Linux and fancy coding. That's all very well, but a bit forwarding. An accidental dash adds an hour to file loading. Tension, insert values, please. You've done this before, so it ought to be a breeze. But the computer's not keen on cooperating when you overload the system while it's operating. Disaster, it's a catastrophe, because you can see the damage in my graph with no axes. I crashed, na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Oh, dash, or something to that effect. Parentheses won't leave me be, will let me do QC on the MDD. I forgot that I'm in awe, and I tried to write in C, but my screen's so empty, please don't freeze. What? Something word, a promising cursor has emerged, but a word count of file says 0 lines. Time for a solution, let's head online. This looks like it's virus free, but the IP address is from overseas. Only seems to take up 4 KB, but my screen's so empty, please don't freeze. This looks like it's virus free, but the IP address is from overseas. It only seems to take up 4 KB, but my screen's so empty, please don't freeze. Dash, 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 backslash. Dash, 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 backslash. Curly bracket, hash, hash. Go into a wrap off with Eminem now, see how he feels about that. But I can actually do the computing side of things now, which is a miracle, sing hosannas, so it lets me actually focus on trying to do the genetics part, which is a whole world of fun in its own. But the main problem we had with depression is that we don't really know how to measure depression, which is unfortunate. I wish someone had told me that before I started my PhD. Because at the moment, like, you can't give a blood sample, you can't give a stool sample, although I wish I could. You have to use these qualitative self-assessment questionnaires, which is all very well and good when dealing with people, but if you want to make new drugs, you have to test them in rats, and therein the problem lies. Because you can't have, like, a consultation session with a rat on its back and a chaise longue in its cage. You're asking questions like, now Mr. Rat, do you often find you have feelings of worthlessness and guilt? Do you still take a pleasure in your day-to-day activities? Do you ever think the other rats know what you're thinking and are plotting against you? It doesn't really work. I was trying to find other ways of seeing what's going on in depression by using something called the endophenotype approach, which is where you just look at other traits to see if there's anything going on in them that's going on in depression. So for me it was like cognitive tests and personality tests. And this has worked well in other psychiatric disorders, like in schizophrenia. There's a genetic variant that you see more in schizophrenic people than in well people. And there's also this behavioral test called the pre-pulse inhibition test, which is essentially, everyone shits their pants. It's great, I love doing that. And what you do is you introduce a little boop before doing the loud noise, and people without the genetic variant hear this and think, oh right, okay, they're going to do the loud noise, brace yourself. But the people with the schizophrenic risk variant, even though they hear the boop, like they still lose their minds as much as they did the first time. And so you've got this thing where you've got like the illness is related to the gene, and the illness is related to the behavioral test, and the behavioral test is related to the gene, and it's all just a big happy triangle, and it's fantastic. So how did this pan out in depression? Not very well. We didn't find very much, unfortunately. So now I had, like before coming down here, I kind of finished up everything and had about 2 months to go. And I was aware that I had like 2 years worth of sort of slightly dubious primary research, followed by about a year of slightly tenuous conclusions and 2 months to write 50,000 words. I was like, well, fuck it, it's good enough for Dan Brown, it's good enough for me. But since coming down here, I mean, like, I've still got quite a bit to do. I'm probably about like 20,000 words in, and there's still quite a bit to go whilst trying to do the new job, and it's definitely getting a bit more George R.R. Martin. Like, I can tell that the fans, read examiners, really wish I'd hurry the fuck up and get the new book out. So I've just got to hope that when that day finally comes around, Viva Day, they just don't turn around to me and be like, you know nothing, Jon Snow. Thank you very much, you've been lovely.